I'm starting on chapter 2. This is page 25. How science changes its mind. There are two quotes right in the beginning of the chapter. It says, facts are theory laden, theories are value laden, values are history laden. This is by Donna Haraway. In the beginning was the word, the genesis of biological theory, 1981. To ask humankind what being in the world means is to reproduce a very partial image of the cosmos. This is by Emmanuel Cochia, The Life of Plants in 2019. Now the chapter begins. The whirling plasma surface of the sun flings out a fistful of life. The particles, billions of photons, hurtle 93 million miles through black space to rain down like bread and honey on the outstretched flesh of the most abundant living mass on Earth. Plants eat light. Photosynthesis, so basic to plants, is the prerequisite for most every other life form on Earth. Through photosynthesis, plants suffuse the air with the oxygen we breathe. How did we get here? 1.5 billion years ago, an algae-like cell swallowed a cyanobacteria. That algae-like cell was the early organism from which both animals and fungi would later evolve, and the cyanobacteria is an ancestor of the unthinkably diverse bacteria that flood our world today. But together, they were sort of a new branch of life entirely. There's an asterisk. A third organism, a bacterial parasite, was also involved. It was the go-between ferrying the food from the domesticated cyanobacteria to the host algae-like cell. Afloat in the murky waters of the Precambrian, this single sentinel of a new kingdom began to photosynthesize. It took sunlight and alchemized the spare material of its environment, water, carbon dioxide, maybe a few trace minerals, into sugar. The first plant was born a chimera, an organism composed of cells that are genetically distinct. The leaves of every green plant on Earth retain the genetic imprint of our first union. The plant cells that today catch photons as they fall from space are themselves chimeras in miniature. That first cyanobacteria is still within them, still faithfully alchemizing light into food. 1.5 billion years later, after that first creation, plants have evolved and proliferated into 500,000 species that thrive in every ecosystem on the planet. Their supremacy is absolute. If weighed, plants would amount to about 80% of Earth's living matter. When plants climbed out of the ocean some 500 million years ago, they arrived in a terrestrial barrens, enveloped in an inhospitable fog of carbon dioxide and hydrogen. Inhospitable, that is, to everything but plants. They had already learned to unlock oxygen from the carbon dioxide dissolved in the ocean. They adapted the technology to their new world. In a way, they brought the ocean up with them. By incessantly breathing out those legions of early land plants tipped the balance of gases towards oxygenation. They created the atmosphere we now enjoy. It's not a stretch to say they birthed the habitable world. As the Italian philosopher Emmanuel Cochia puts it, they constructed our cosmos. The world is, above all, everything the plants could make of it. Through the same process, plants have made every iota of sugar we have ever consumed. A leaf is the only thing in our known world that can manufacture sugar out of materials, light and air, that have never been alive. All the rest of us are secondary users, recycling the stuff the plant has made. Our recombinations may be genius, but the matter is not original. Not original. The original is made like this. as photons from the sun fall upon a plant's outstretched green parts. Chloroplasts in the leaf cell convert the particle of light into chemical energy. This solar power gets stored inside specialized energy storing molecules, the rechargeable battery packs of the plant world. At the same time, the leaf siphons carbon dioxide out of the air through minuscule pore-like openings on the underside of the leaf called stomata. Under a microscope, stomata look like small parted mouths, fish lips that open and close. They are air-breathing, after all, in their way. The stomata suck, like as an intake, in carbon dioxide, and the carbon dioxide now encounters both the stored solar energy and the chloroplast and the water that is coursing always through the leaf's veins. Through that encounter with the pure energy of light, the water and carbon dioxide molecules are ripped apart. Half of the oxygen molecules from both parties float away from this meeting, passing back into the world through the parted lips of stomata, becoming the air we breathe. The carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen that remains is spun into strands of sugary glucose. To be precise, it takes 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 6 molecules of water, torn apart by power from the sun, to form 6 molecules of oxygen. And the true aim of this whole process, 1 precious molecule of glucose. The plants use the glucose to build new leaves, which will be used to make more glucose. It also shuttles the glucose down through its body, passing into its underground architecture, where it is used to grow more roots, which will pull more water back up through its body, which will be torn apart to make more glucose. In this way, life unfurls. We are made of glucose too. Without a constant supply of the plant sugar, our vital functions would quickly cease. Think about it. Every animal organ was built with sugar from plants. The meat of our bones, and indeed the bones themselves, carry the signature of their molecules. Our bodies are fabricated within the threads of material plants first spun. Likewise, every thought that has ever passed through your brain is made possible by plants. This is crushingly literal. The brain in particular is a machine run chiefly on glucose. Without a continual source of glucose, communication between neurons will slow and then cease. Memory, learning, and thinking will shut down. Without glucose, your brain will wither shortly before you do. All the glucose in the world, whether it arrives in your body packaged inside a banana or a slice of wheat bread, will be manufactured out of thin air by a plant in the moment after photons from the sun fell upon it. In this way, at every moment, brought into conversation with plants, and they with us. Our thoughts, the products of them, and the fabric of our cultures, the direction of our invention, have behind them trillions of plant bodies, each alchemizing the world into existence. Yet for all they can do, plants cannot run around. It is perhaps one of the greatest feats of life that plants are able to distribute so broadly, given their limited mobility. Colonizing all 7 terrestrial continents require innovative adaptation and luck. But arriving was only one feat. To survive, reproduce, and establish complex communities, all while thwarting the pressures of predators, seasons, scarcity, and blight, was another thing entirely. No one knows this better than a rare plant botanist working on a far-flung island. Steve Perlman is the top botanist at Hawaii's Plant Extinction Prevention Program. When I met him, he is 69 with a sturdy build and white hair. Before I got to the thorny world of plant intelligence research, I wanted to see some straightforward old school botanizing. I've arrived to see his work, but for now, as we bump along in the old minivan as it struggles to keep up a winding clay road on the northwestern edge of the island of Kauai, we talk about feelings. He doesn't take Prozac, like some of the other rare plant botanists he knows. Instead, he writes poetry. Either way, Perlman tells me you have to do something when a plant you've long known goes extinct. Each plant that dies, that singularly lonely death, marks the end of a multi-million year evolutionary project. That species' great genetic experiment is over. It's the last in its line. Every native plant on Kauai, Hawaii's fourth largest island and Perlman's home base, is a mind-blowing stroke of luck and chance. Each species there arrived on the island as a single seed floating at sea or flying in a bird's belly from thousands of miles away. More than 2,000 miles of open ocean sit between Kauai and the nearest continent. Botanists believe one or two seeds made it every 1,000 years. Kauai was formed by a volcano 5 million years ago and was pushed off the volcanic hotspot by plate tectonics. The island is still drifting northwest, little by little every year. Another island, then another, would emerge at this geological birth site and drift leftward the same way. Because it was the first Hawaiian island and is therefore the oldest, it has had the most time to collect errant seeds. When a new seed took root in its young soil, the plant could evolve into a completely new species, or more often several new species, each trying out a different lifestyle in the comfortable embrace of the island's perfect climatic conditions. This process is known as adaptive radiation. The result is thousands of variations on a few species. Each new variation became endemic, which is found exclusively on that island. I try to hold the grandeur of that fact in mind while I look out the window of the bouncing minivan. Perlman is driving. Bushy fronds sweep the side of the van like gloved hands. A precipice on one side of the road plunges several thousand feet down, opening into a canyon covered in pale greens. The higher we ascend, the thicker the fog enveloping the van grows. Soon the dense vegetation outside the window has become a wet green smudge. The road plateaus, and Perlman parks and walks out. We are very high up now. It's going to just stop on page 30. I have the Nine of Pentacles in reverse, meaning somebody's not very happy with something. I have the King of Cups in the upright, which is just your emotional state of well-being or your emotional homeostasis. Then we have the Hangman in the upright. Someone's waiting for emotional homeostasis or happiness for this Nine of Pentacles to be in the upright. Don't know why. That's just the reading. And at the bottom of the deck, we've got the Ace of Cups. cup runneth over. Someone is literally waiting for the effort, the time, the energy, and the recognition of their happiness to arrive. I don't know what way that applies to the reading. Kind of seems like traveling over vast distances in order to, in the stomach of a bird. Not in a pregnant way, just in a digestive way. I don't know why I'm hearing malnutrition. Take it as you will. That's the reading.